You don't lose power because you were betrayed. You lose power because you let it slide without punishment. No one destroys an empire in a single strike. Every empire falls, piece by piece, because of the ones you forgave. The ones who vanished when you needed them most. The ones who praised you when you needed truth. The ones who stood in front of you like saints, while carving you open from behind. And you knew, you felt it, but you stayed silent, to keep the peace, to hope things would fix themselves. And from that moment on, you were no longer in control. You became prey, trying to hold your seat in a game. You're slowly losing. Machiavelli never taught you to forgive. He taught you to see clearly and to act before your enemies found the one weakness they need to finish you. Your softness. If you're building something powerful, if you hold a position others envy, if you live in a world where kindness is treated like stupidity, then carve this into your mind. 7 types of people must never be forgiven. Not because they're cruel, but because the moment you let them return, they won't apologize. They'll take your place. And now, let's begin with the first. The one who vanished when you needed them most. Never trust someone who disappeared during the storm and came back only once the sky was clear. That person didn't stand for you. They stood for victory. They raised their glass when you rose. They shared your name when it brought them praise. But the moment you collapsed, when all you needed was a message, a hand, a warning, they went silent. No presence, no voice, no weight. Not because they were afraid, not because they were overwhelmed, but because they were waiting, watching, to see if you'd fall far enough to be forgotten. And if you survived, they returned with a smile. I didn't know what to say. I was planning to reach out. I didn't want to interfere. There is no apology more empty than the excuse of someone who watched you bleed and said nothing. Have you ever forgiven someone because you were afraid to lose them? Have you ever stayed quiet, just to avoid being called bitter? Then ask yourself, what did they learn every time you softened? That betrayal has no cost. That absence is strategy. That if they vanish at the right time, they can return at the perfect moment and still be welcomed. Never confuse someone who comes back with someone who stayed. The one who stayed stood with you when everything collapsed. The one who returns is just checking if you're still useful, because anyone who could abandon you once will do it again if you let them. And when the system around you sees that betrayal goes unpunished, loyalty becomes a mask, not a truth. They don't admire you anymore. They evaluate you. They ask, are you still valuable, still rising, still worth attaching to? You're no longer followed. You're measured. So if you survive the storm, don't let the ones who vanished sit at your table. Power doesn't die in one act. It bleeds out through every face. You forgave to keep the peace. Empires don't always fall from the outside. Sometimes they rot from the throne, not because of enemies, but because of a leader who's too afraid to lead. You expect betrayal to come with knives, with spies, with secret meetings, but Machiavelli warned us. The fastest way to destroy a kingdom is to crown a coward. Cowardice doesn't always tremble. It doesn't always stutter. It doesn't always hide in shadows. Sometimes it wears a polished face, a calm voice, a perfect speech filled with careful delays. I just need more time. Let's not be hasty. Let's talk again soon. But behind the restraint isn't wisdom. It's fear. Have you ever worked beneath a man who hesitated when the moment called for a strike? Have you seen a leader shrink when decisions became sharp? Then you know, doubt doesn't stay at the top. It spreads downward, like rot. A general who waits too long gets soldier killed. A CEO who avoids risk creates chaos. Below, a father who refuses to lead leaves a family lost. Cowardice doesn't just weaken you, it infects everyone who follows you. Because when power hesitates, the system panics. Machiavelli said, "Every second a ruler waits in fear is a dagger twisting in the heart of the state." An army doesn't fear its enemies. It fears a commander who doesn't know what to do. Leadership doesn't mean having perfect answers. It means knowing this. Silence kills faster than failure. The leader who waits for certainty misses the moment that required courage. And in a world where power shifts with every breath, you don't stay in control by thinking longer. You keep it by moving first. If you want the throne, act before they expect it. Explain after they obey. Never let fear disguise itself as patience. Never let morality become an excuse for delay. People might respect a ruthless man, but no one will follow a leader too afraid to lead. Not every enemy comes with a sword. Some come with a smile. There's a certain kind of person who never disagrees with you. They nod. They praise. They say, "You're right," even when you're not. And strangely enough, they are more dangerous than the ones who openly challenge you. Machiavelli never feared the man who stood against him. He feared the one standing behind him, whispering, "You're brilliant," because enemies keep you sharp, but flatterers make you blind. Flattery is not kindness. It's a weapon. It doesn't cut you directly. It rots your judgment. It turns a strong mind into an echo chamber. It replaces warnings with applause. It turns truth into performance. Have you ever felt surrounded, yet completely disconnected from the truth? Have you ever looked back and asked, "How did I not see it coming?" That's how flattery works. It's not just fake praise. It's strategic manipulation. Flatterers aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to power, to access, to opportunity, to staying close, while saying exactly what you want to hear. And the moment you start enjoying it, you lose your edge. You lose the very thing that made you a leader in the first place. The ability to see through deception. Flatterers don't care if you fall, because once your power fades, so do they. Same voice, same smile, but now they're praising someone else. Machiavelli said, "Never confuse a flatterer with a loyal ally." A loyal person will make you uncomfortable, but they'll never let you self-destruct. A flatterer will guide you to the edge and let you fall just to take your seat. So ask yourself, who around you always agrees? Who has never said no? Who praises you at the perfect moment, every time? That's not a friend. That's a parasite feeding on your pride. If you want to hold power, you must be strong enough to hear the truth and sharp enough to see the lie, even when it sounds sweet. Because the wrong compliment at the wrong time is more dangerous than a dagger. And now, we move to a quieta rebellion, one that doesn't shout, but dares to challenge you in front of everyone. Power doesn't break in private. It fractures. When someone dares to mock you in front of a crowd, one joke, one smirk, one challenge under the spotlight, and the illusion is gone. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. You don't need an army to overthrow a king. You just need to plant doubt in public, and all it takes is one voice. One man who interrupts you during a meeting. One person who questions your decision, not behind closed doors, but in front of others. That moment, you are no longer untouchable, because if he can speak out, they start wondering, why can't I? Have you ever smiled through a public insult and called it leadership? Have you ever let something slide just to look calm? Have you ever laughed off disrespect to seem above it? Then understand this. You didn't look strong. You looked afraid, and everyone watching saw it. All it takes is one crack in the glass, and suddenly everyone sees you're not bulletproof. Power isn't about cruelty. It's about control. And control dies. When defiance goes unpunished, they won't attack you with weapons. They'll attack with questions, with glances, with silence. You'll feel it. People testing you, ignoring instructions, pushing boundaries just to see what you'll do. And if you do nothing, you've set a precedent. And precedent is a weapon. It tells everyone watching, disrespect is allowed, challenge is safe. Authority can be negotiated, and once you've given that up, you can't take it back. Machiavelli warned, the one who publicly places morality above your command is secretly declaring himself your replacement. It's not about the words, it's about the scene, because the crowd doesn't follow truth, they follow momentum. They don't need to overthrow you, they just need one laugh, and the crowd will do the rest. And when one man gets away with using morality to shame you, others will follow. It becomes a script, an act, and they all learn. You don't need strength to win. You just need to look pure long enough to turn the crowd against the king. So don't be fooled by soft speeches. Don't be distracted by poetic language. True morality is quiet. It corrects in private. But the one who calls you out in front of the world, he's not here to help you grow. He's here to take your crown. And if you tolerate him, if you stay calm, to protect your image, your throne will become a stage. And you'll be just another man, performing for the crowd that once feared you. And the worst part, they won't even remember what you did. They'll only remember who made you flinch. Not all betrayals come from enemies. Some come from the very people you once rescued. The ones you defended when no one else would. The ones who had no voice until you gave them yours. And now they speak against you. Machiavelli warned, nothing corrodes power faster than ingratitude, because ingratitude isn't silence. It's sabotage, done with a smile. It's not just forgetting a favor, it's erasing your role in their rise, so they can pretend they built it alone. You built the bridge, they crossed it, then they burned it, just to keep others from knowing you were ever there. Have you ever helped someone climb, only to hear them whisper secrets to your rivals? Have you ever watched someone rewrite history and remove your name from the story? Then you already know. Ingratitude is not passive. It's calculated. These people don't feel guilt. They feel advantage. They treat loyalty like a loan. Once the benefit ends, so does the relationship. Worse, they use your mercy as their shield. They know how far you're willing to go for others. They know you forgive too quickly, and they bet you'll never expose them. They're right, because while you gave them protection, they were already preparing a speech, rehearsing how to discredit you, planning how to spin the narrative once they were in your seat. And when your name becomes inconvenient, they erase it, not with force, with neglect. They don't fight you, they forget you. And somehow, that hurts more. Machiavelli never said stop giving. He said, never water barren ground. Mercy, when given to the wrong people, doesn't create loyalty. It creates resentment, because in their eyes, your generosity becomes a weakness, not a gift. And the next time they need a boost, they won't ask. They'll take, and they'll make sure no one remembers where it came from. So ask yourself, who's thriving today because you handed them the platform? Who's wearing success, stitched with your sacrifice? Because if you tolerate ingratitude, you won't just lose resources, you'll lose memory. You'll be erased from the very kingdom you helped build. Machiavelli said, gratitude is not proof of loyalty. It's just the start of a test. And when the test fails, you don't retake it. You walk away. Because the most dangerous traitor is the one who says nothing at all and lets your kindness die in silence. Not every threat wields a weapon. Some wear perfect suits, speak with elegant restraint, and smile like statesmen, while serving no one but themselves. Machiavelli warned, ambition without loyalty is not a tool. It's a time bomb. Tasermen don't rebel. They don't resist. They wait. They say the right words, show up on time, stay neutral in every conflict. And yet, they are the most dangerous men in the room because they never expose themselves. They watch. They collect data. They analyze every crack in your armor and memorize the exact moment to move. Have you ever sat across from someone who performs perfectly, yet somehow you don't trust? Not because of what they've done, but because of what they never say. They never disagree. They never commit. They never challenge. And when the room grows tense, they don't speak up, but you can feel it. They're already calculating what your fall would sound like. They're not your second in command. They're your future replacement, already writing the speech they'll give at your downfall. Machiavelli knew this archetype, the silent successor, the one who blends into your shadow until your light fades, and they step forward like destiny chose them. These people don't need to lie. They let your assumptions do the work. They keep their hands clean, so when the crisis comes, they're untouched. They'll walk into the chaos you couldn't control and say, I'll take care of it. And suddenly, the room turns, not because they earned it, but because you hesitated, and they didn't. Have you ever relied on someone who helped only when it benefited them? Have you ever been flanked, not by an enemy, but by someone who smiled too much and stood too still? Then you've seen ambition without roots. Loyalty costs something. It's public. It risks. But these men risk nothing and gain everything. Because when power starts to shake, they're always the first to offer help, just loud enough for the crowd to hear it. And if you let them close, they will learn you. Your fears, your rhythms, your cracks. They'll mirror your values, adopt your language, echo your philosophy, and then replace you with it. Machiavelli said, if a man like that stands beside you, you only have two choices. Bind him to your future so tightly he cannot break away, or remove him before he grows beyond your reach. He's not your ally. He's your successor, waiting for the moment to say, I always supported him, but now it's time for change. Because talent without loyalty is a loaded gun. And the moment your leadership trembles, he pulls the trigger. So ask yourself, if you lost everything tomorrow, would he still be there the day after? If your power vanished, would he still protect your name? Or would he step over your silence and declare himself the new voice? If the answer isn't a full-bodied yes, then you already know. He's not here to serve. He's here to survive you. And when the crown begins to slip, he won't ask to wear it. He'll take it, as if it always belonged to him. Some people never raise their voice. They don't rebel. They don't threaten. They don't oppose you directly. And yet, they can destroy everything you've built, not with weapons, but with one powerful tool, morality. Machiavelli saw it long before anyone else. He knew that when morality is used to attack power, it's no longer about ethics. It becomes performance. These people speak in the name of justice. They demand transparency. They call for kindness. They act like they care about truth. But look closer. They don't want better leaders. They want your seat. They ask the crowd, is he really a good man? Don't we deserve someone better? And they don't want answers. They want doubt. Has anyone ever made you feel guilty, just to weaken your grip? Because once a leader is forced to explain himself, to justify, to defend, his authority is already bleeding. Have you ever stayed silent just to avoid looking like the bad guy? Have you ever let someone question your motives in public while you smiled and took it? That wasn't strength. That was surrender. Machiavelli made it clear. A ruler shouldn't be chosen for being moral, but for being effective. But moral manipulators know something dangerous. Society prefers nice over strong, so they use it. They create impossible standards, then punish you for not meeting them. They say you're cold, that you lack compassion, that you've lost touch with the people. But behind the soft words is pure ambition. They don't swing swords. They raise eyebrows, and the crowd swings the blade for them. And here's the trap. If you respond, you're a tyrant. If you stay silent, you're guilty. Either way, you lose. That's the brilliance of moral warfare. It's not about truth. It's about emotion. And if you give emotion more power than action, anyone who can cry on cue can replace you. Machiavelli warned, the moment you allow morality to tighten around your leadership like a rope, you've already handed over control. Because the crowd doesn't need facts. They need a performance. And when one man gets away with using morality to shame you, others will follow. They're not reformers. They're actors. And your downfall is their monologue. It becomes a script, an act, and they all learn. You don't need strength to win. You just need to look pure long enough to turn the crowd against the king. So don't be fooled by soft speeches. Don't be distracted by poetic language. True morality is quiet. It corrects in private. But the one who calls you out in front of the world, he's not here to help you grow. He's here to take your crown. And if you tolerate him, if you stay calm to protect your image, your throne will become a stage, and you'll be just another man, performing for the crowd that once feared you. Now that you've seen all seven, betrayal, fear, flattery, defiance, ingratitude, ambition, and moral manipulation, there's only one thing left to ask. What happens when you don't draw the line? We've just walked through 7 behaviors. Machiavelli warned us never to tolerate, not because they're loud, but because they're quiet, calculated, corrosive. They don't break the gates. They rot the walls from within. The betrayer who disappears during crisis, the coward who leads without courage, the flatterer who feeds your pride while killing your judgment, the public challenger who dares you in front of the crowd, the ungrateful who rise with your help, then turn against you, the ambitious opportunist who serves no one but himself, and the moral manipulator who wraps ambition in virtue and turns your strength into guilt. None of them shouts. They observe. They calculate. They wait. And the moment you hesitate, your throne begins to slip. Because power doesn't die in chaos. It dies in comfort, in forgiveness without boundaries, in silence when punishment was due. The moment you tolerate betrayal, you teach everyone that loyalty is optional. The moment you reward flattery, you surround yourself with lies. The moment you let public defiance go unpunished, you invite collapse. And when you forgive the wrong people, you don't create peace. You manufacture your own downfall. You thought you were being wise, but your silence became permission. Have you already seen it? The empty chair. When you needed them most, the applause that echoed while you were blind, the sudden coldness. After you gave everything, then you understand. This isn't theory. This is survival. Machiavelli never told you to be cruel. He told you to see, and when you finally see clearly, you'll know. There are lines that must never be crossed, and people who must never be allowed back in, because every time you forgive the unforgivable, you rewrite the laws of your world. You teach your circle that the throne is soft, that the system is flexible, that power bends with emotion. And when the time comes to act, You may find yourself alone, not because they betrayed you, but because you trained them to. So this is your reminder. Draw the line, or be replaced by the one who does. Because mercy builds graves, but clarity builds empires. Power was never meant to be sentimental. It was meant to be seen. And the moment you try to be liked more than feared, you become replaceable. Now, ask yourself, how many enemies did you create just by being too kind? They didn't wear armor. They wore smiles. They didn't shout. They waited. And you mistook it for loyalty. But now, you know, if you've stayed until now, you're not here to be approved. You're here to endure. Hit subscribe, because this world won't warn you before the next betrayal, but we will.